The choice between iPhone and Android is largely a matter of personal preference and depends on individual needs and priorities. Both iPhone and Android have their own strengths and weaknesses. Here are some points to consider. User interface. iPhone's iOS and Android offer different user experiences. iOS generally has a more streamlined and uniform interface, while Android offers more customization options and flexibility. Hardware. Apple designs and manufactures both the hardware and software for iPhones, resulting in a tightly integrated system. Android, on the other hand, is available on a variety of devices made by different manufacturers, offering a wider range of options in terms of design, features, and price points. App ecosystem. The Apple App Store and Google Play Store both have vast app selections, but there are some differences. Generally, iOS tends to get apps and updates first, and some apps may be exclusive to iOS. However, Android offers more freedom for developers, allowing for a wider variety of apps. Privacy and security. Apple emphasizes privacy and security and has strict control over the apps allowed in its App Store. Android allows more flexibility in installing apps from third-party sources, but this can increase the risk of malware. Both operating systems regularly release updates to address security vulnerabilities. Integration with other devices. If you already use other Apple devices such as Mac computers, iPads, or Apple Watches, an iPhone can offer better integration and synchronization with those devices. Android devices can integrate well with other Google services and products. Customization. Android provides more customization options for users to personalize their devices, such as custom launchers, widgets, and system-level tweaks. iPhones have limited customization options, offering a more consistent and controlled user experience. Price range. Android devices are available across a wide range of price points, making it easier to find a device that fits your budget. iPhones, particularly the latest models, tend to be more expensive. Your first decision when you decide to pick up your first smartphone is which one you're going to buy. Two of the major options are iPhone and Android. Both offer a lot of great features, but iPhones and Android phones are very different. Hardware is the first place where the differences between the iPhone and Android become clear. Only Apple makes iPhones, so it has extremely tight control over how the software and hardware work together. On the other hand, Google offers Android software to many phone makers, including Samsung, HTC, and Motorola. Premium-priced Android phones are about as good as the iPhone, but a cheaper Android device with fewer features may be all you need. If you're buying an iPhone, you need to pick a model. Because many companies make Android devices, you have to choose both a brand and a model. Some may prefer the choice Android offers, but others appreciate Apple's greater simplicity and higher quality. Android phones run on Google's Android operating system, while iPhones use Apple's iOS. In general, they work the same. You'll have a home screen with your most popular apps, including games, utilities, a phone app to make calls, a camera app for pictures, and a messaging one to send texts. They also use touch interfaces, and the device may include hardware like accelerometers or gyroscopes for more functions. Apple releases a new version of iOS about every fall with additional updates coming throughout the year. In the earlier days of Android, updates were less frequent and regular Android 2.0 came out in 2009, while both 3 and 4 came out in 2011. Recently, however, Android has fallen more into an annual update cycle. Some Android device makers, like Samsung, use a slightly modified version of the operating system. Some Android makers are slow to update their phones to the latest version of the Android OS. Apple releases a new version of iOS about every fall with additional updates coming throughout the year. In the earlier days of Android, updates were less frequent and regular Android 2.0 came out in 2009, while both 3 and 4 came out in 2011. Recently, however, Android has fallen more into an annual update cycle. Some Android device makers, like Samsung, use a slightly modified version of the operating system. Some Android makers are slow to update their phones to the latest version of the Android OS, and sometimes don't update their phones at all. While older phones will eventually lose support for the latest OS, Apple's support for older phones can be better than Android S, especially since the platform is open to the iPhone versus Android comparison is a never-ending debate on which one is best. It will likely never have a real winner, but we're going to try and help you to find your personal pick all the same. The latest version of both operating systems, iOS 16 and Android 13, are both excellent, but in slightly different ways. Many of their features overlap, but design-wise they look quite different, aside from the basic touchscreen-focused layout. Whichever of the best phones available today you buy, they'll be running one of these two OSes.